Good day, all. Excuse me. This is a video that I'm making about the Easy Wire kits, universal kits that I am actually applying to my project, my 1968 Ford F10O. I decided that I wasn't going to deal with the factory wires, and being 50 plus years old, I was going to replace them. And so what I decided to do is, instead of using the factory harness, because of the different applications or the different things that I was going to do and different changes, that I wasn't going to use the original gauges and everything. So I went and bought a Easy Wire universal kit excuse me, to use on my vehicle here. So I ended up buying this kit here. It's the Easy Wire, and I actually went with the 12 color 12 circuit wiring harness. So this kit here comes with the fuse box with the fuses, all the wiring that's needed, and this instruction manual. And see, here it goes here. The kit, what it contains: pre-wired fuse panel with 17 fuses in the breaker. There you go. 2 signal flashes, 1 pre-wired relay connector with a horn relay, 2 pre-wired headlight plugs, 1 pre-wired late GM alternator plug, 2 pre-wired GM column ignition plugs, 1 pre-wired dimmer switch plug, 2 GM turn signal connectors. As you can see, this kit leans more towards General Motors vehicles, but I took the extra time and decided, it was a short enough money. I think it was like $175 for this kit, and I know the question is, was it really easy? If you follow the instructions, it will fall into place, and they break it down into different sections, which makes it very easy to understand. So the only thing you will have to do is, because it is GM oriented, you're going to have to, well, what I did, I took it and tailored it to my application, because I ended up a lot of the pre-wired stuff I had to take off, because the different connectors didn't match up. Specifically, the ones for the ignition, and these are what the connectors are. They actually had these female spade locking connectors. I was able to use my tool here to remove them from the there it is, my tool, from the connectors themselves. But anyways, I'll continue on with that. But anyways, so I would highly recommend reading all the way through it, because to orient yourself with it. But what I did was did exactly what they said. I took it and I laid it out next to the vehicle. I had it a spot where I could do that. So I laid out all of the wires and decided how many circuits I was going to use. So yeah, so what the deal was, because it does have added extra stuff, but it tells you, preparation for the harness, large clean work area, spread out the harness. Highly recommend that. And you see that it is broken down into 4 different sections: the front section, dash section, steering column section, and yeah. So I'll just leave that there so you can read through it. Mounting the panel. Yeah, you got to decide where you're going to put that to be able to keep the wires out of the way. So what I decided is how many different circuits I was going to use. So I started to decide which ones I was going to pull. Since I was using mechanical gauges, everything that I have circled, I removed out of the harness so I could deal with less wiring. So what I did was I did lay it all out next to the vehicle and then started pulling the wires that I didn't want. So I ended up pulling the oil sending unit, the temperature sending unit, and I left the rest of these because I was going to use those for my application. And as you see here, I'll explain this later, but this is what the FORD switch for my application was. So you can see the headlight says courtesy lamp fuse, brake switch. I didn't use that because I'm gonna run my brake switch wire into the directional harness, which I have an aftermarket one I'm gonna use so I can circumvent the original one. And it has the directions which I'm gonna apply to to my application. And there's the battery feed, the tail light, the tail section, the parking section, headlight section. I have a better picture on the back side I'll show later. But anyway, so, and I actually went in, I removed the power antenna wire. I left the fan power in case I did want to run an electric fan later on, so I did run that into the harness. And then the dome light I wasn't even going to bother with, so I pulled that, the third brake light, the trunk light, and electric fuel pump. I pulled all of those wires out of the harness to have less to deal with. So those are the ones. So I ended up pulling out 1, 2, 3, 4 in the front section. And see, they have a diagram for GM wiring, diagram for Ford wiring, which was my application, and there's a steering column conversion for the different colors, but I'm going to apply that to my aftermarket one, so I won't need to deal with that, other than I did run all of these wires together in the same harness to run up the steering column to be able to attach to my directional unit, which I have there, the aftermarket one that I found in a clean out. And then there's a Mopar directions also, and then shows you how to use it to the typical GM one. But here's what, so that's what I'm ended up gonna use, because that is the, for my 68 F100, that is the configuration of where all the connections go on that particular headlight switch. So there, as you see. So after I spread and decided, so I did all of that ahead of time. I decided where everything was going to go and studied it. I actually studied it for a few days before I even took it up, decided to start running the wires, because I needed to decide where I was going to run what, as in, because I had 3 different sections. I had, the wires to run to the tail section, and the wires to run up to the headlights and directionals and the engine compartment. So what I decided to do is I had 3 different positions, 3 different sections. So as you see there, I used the factory outlet and plug. So I ran all the wires through there, and I used that 3/8 sheathing there. So on this left-hand side, I ran all the wires there. As you can see, that one goes down. All those will feed everything in the rear, and these all go to the left-hand side. And what I do, because the headlights had to get fed through here, and they split here, so I ran it up underneath the radiator support to the other side. So I ran the left and right headlight feed and left and right parking and directional through the left hand side. And then, see, I went here, and then like I said, I went up and along and ran it underneath, and then to feed the headlights on this side. And there's the connector from the directional. I left that open because when I go to feed it, I didn't want to plug it right away because from what I understand is there's the two filaments that are in the bulbs there. So the parking light, running light, I guess, I shouldn't say parking light, I guess, but the running light I was just going to leave on the smaller filament, and the directional would be on the top filament. I'll see which one looks the best, and I'll just move the wires back and forth and see which one looks the best and what it is as close as a factory, because I don't know factory wise, but that was just what I was going to do when I go to hook those up. That's why I left those unhooked. And then in the center there, I ran the wires that went to the distributor, you know, so that would have been the feed for the ignition and the tachometer wire, as you can see. And what these easy wires do is on the wire itself, they actually mark what each one is. So the purple one is the tack wire, and the pink one is the hot from the ignition. So I ran those to the center one because that made the most sense to keep it nice and clean. And on this side here, where I ran for the alternator and to feed the solenoid, and I did split it off too because there was other wires I did run on this side too, which come through this side was the horn wire. So I ran the ignition wires for the switch and the horn wire on this side, and I left the horn wire in there, so I'm going to mount the horn on this side at some point. So on the harness that runs all the way to the back, I did cut it and spliced it with a waterproof connector. So I did that so in case I ever did have to take the cab off or the body off or anything like that, I'd be able to separate it. So I bought a kit that had 2, 3, 4, and 5 wire connectors, waterproof, and that's what I used to splice to run the wires to the back. Yeah, so and I left these unplugged too. I have them there. They're not completely spliced together, so I can test. Like I said, there's the double filaments here. I want the running light on a separate on the smaller filament, and the stop light and directional will be on that bigger top filament. So that's why I'm gonna wait till I wire it all up, the headlight switch and everything. So I ended up buying from Dennis Carpenter new ones, because here's my old ones, and I just didn't want to deal with old wiring and stuff. But the new ones came with the pigtails, with the gaskets, with the bulbs, and the hardware to screw them back into the space where they are. And for those, I actually bought through Dennis Carpenter. I bought these pigtails. They actually work. They're not quite right because they're not the right color combination, but I didn't want to splice in my old ones. These work out right. So those are the part number for those. I bought 4 of them, 2 for the front and 2 for the back. So yeah, that's basically, and here we go. And that's the sheathing that I used to cover all the wire. 3/8 Tech Flex. Love the stuff. You just gotta take a heat to the end of it when you do cut it so it doesn't fray. But yeah, some of that's plugged there, but that works out well. It's 25-foot coil. but so there we go. So yeah, here was the factory harness that I pulled out and I saved just so I could use the connectors, because I am gonna be able to. I found these. They're that's them. The 1/4-inch female spade locking connector. You see how it's got the little tab on it? That keeps it from coming back out of the connector itself. So it sticks in there and it locks. And that's the tool there to remove it. But I saw them on Amazon and stuff, but I've been trying to find them local, but I haven't been able to. And there's the demonstrator switch and stuff. But anyway, so yeah, I found the easy wire harness to be very easy to install. So at this stage of the game, I did install that, and I started splitting it all up, running them where I wanted to go. So here's all the headlight wires, and I'll go ahead and I'll tuck them underneath, but I'm gonna leave this extra length and test the switch to make sure that I have it all wired correctly, and before I go ahead and tuck it away. And these wires are for the dimmer switch. I'm just about there, and these are all for the indicator lights. And I don't know if you can see on here, but there's let's see, I can't really see on that one. Maybe I'll get this light green one, and you can see that they can't really tell on that one. But yeah, there's, yeah, you see, there it is right there. Right, yeah, high beam indicator light. I can't, it's, there you go. See, all the wires are marked for the ease of being. So I actually left this here for a little bit. I had wired it up when I first put the truck together, and I've stepped away from it, so I lost a little bit of my where I was at, but I'm back on track. So the only thing that's stopping me right now is those 1/4-inch spades. But yeah, I was very happy with the ease of install and how they and the explanation. So if anybody wants to wire up their truck and put a little extra effort and wire their own stuff in, the Easy Wire kit was just that, very easy. So yeah, very happy with how everything has come out. But yeah, that's about all I have to say. That I do recommend the Easy Wire kit, and I thought it was just that. So any questions, just hit me up, and I will continue once I get my new connectors. So there you go, and that's the box that it comes in. So let me go ahead and continue on. All right, all. Have a good day, and thanks for listening.